Hello guys, Rookie here and welcome back to another Zenless Zone Zero discussion. Today we're gonna discuss about Sanby and our upcoming buff into the 2.3 version. And the possible dangers surrounding it, because there are several risks regarding her kit that might actually disturb the balance of the game. Not just because of her specifically, but because also it ultimately affect the card and the game balance in general. But first, let me give you a bit of context. Now, iOS usually intend not to actually make to buff their old card, as it's something that they rarely do. The only two exceptions of that, the only two example of that is in Genshin when Zhongli got released, and they only buffed him because the Chinese players were furious about his physical kit when it was released. Yeah, for those of you who would not know, Zhongli wasn't always revealed, wasn't always loved from the very beginning. At the start, he was pretty trash. His shield was non-existent, his damage was also bad. So yeah, so in order to appease the Chinese player base, and also because Genshin was still at early and the infancy in the first year when it was released. So in order to appease the player base and do not let the game fail immediately, they actually accommodated, let's say, pleased the Chinese player base, and so they reworked this kit, which actually gave him a shield so larger after the redesign, so which made him basically the best sustainer in the game, which was still true for a long while. And another example of kit redesign is actually when they actually redesigned the Stellar Anantes on Kaista Rail, Kafka, Silver Wolf, Blade. They also include into Shis and Stellar Anant, but you know what I mean. They also redesigned those cards because there were a lot of complaints regarding power creep, especially also all the cards were just getting trashed around, we get treated like trash, for example Sila, and they got basically useless, and so on and so on and so on. So basically they decided to buff these 4 cards, also because of, let's say, to pacify with the player base, which was kinda pissed, especially after the Castor's kit was revealed, and the whole global passive thing, which I'm really not gonna explain this because I explained that in several other videos, so yeah. That's the context of that's the context of why iOS designs the cards. They never, aside from these two examples, they never actually buff all the cards. So yeah, even when Deya freaking came out, Deya or Dia, how do you pronounce her? She was so bad that basically she's like the worst character ever. Like I'm not even joking, guys. Like. So bad that I made a video about it. Where is it? That was a long time ago. Hold on. Oh, there, see? She was so bad, yeah, that I compared to List Gohan, El Gohan, Fraudulent Gohan from Dokkan, and not only that, she was so fraudulent that she was doing less damage with Bennett buff, which Bennett still one of the best support in the whole game. She was doing less damage with Bennett on her team than Sino, without Sino having Bennett on his side in the trial. So yeah, despite being super horrendously bad, they decided to still not buff her. That's all your mindset was, and that's how it's been for a very long time. Now, things actually change with Zenless, because we are not even enough. We are not even 1 year into the game, and there already are 2 buffed cards. One which already the kit redesign was released, which was Ellen, but we fair that is fair because Ellen was the first truly limited 4-star DPS. So in order to not let her become the new skill, they probably buffed her. Also because before 1.4 the game was actually pretty different, so yeah, the whole disable system was different. Basically only one character could use the ultimate back then, so yeah, she basically was a designer for an entire different game, so it makes sense they actually design her. But yeah, with Sanby, that's where the issues start to let's say, yeah, it is where things are starting to get complicated, because Sanby, unlike Ellen, which was released a long time ago for a basically different game at this point, it makes sense why she's getting buffed, but Sanby on the other hand, she was released in 1.6, and like Ellen, she actually isn't that trash because she's still tier 1, arguably even 0.5, because the last DA really favored her and attack agents. But specifically because I feel like the only agents that didn't struggle in the last DA, specifically with the filer, we are the cards that specifically didn't struggle without needing seed as attackers are Air and Evelyn. Everyone else suffered the absence of seed because of that buff that was specifically to seed. So yeah, Maharu struggled, Yuan struggled, Soldier, we don't need to talk about her, and also Ugo. So yeah, you can see why you can see actually good. Actually good, despite a lot of people doing posting, and myself included, Sanby already is. So that's why to me it is weird that they're already releasing a quote-unquote buff so soon. Now I'm really gonna give you 3 reasons as to why I actually don't like the idea of buffing a character released not so recently, but also fairly recent like her in the first place. Number 1, obviously, is because of bias. Because to me, as an Naru player, it seems unfair that it was released a long time ago in 1.4. Yeah, he's never gonna get buffed because he not only is a male, which let's be honest, guys, males don't sell unless your name is Finon, and also because he was given for free. While Sanby, yeah, I get that she's the icon of the game, but still, getting a buff this soon after the not even 6 months have been passed since the release, yeah, you can see why I don't like that. Not only that, but also other characters, other fan of other characters may actually don't like that she's getting buffed instead of others. For example, Hugo, which recently up because Yuga's been struggling a lot lately, guys, a lot. Not only needs both Lighter and Lycon to just work properly. Wait do you mean is Lycon? What the fuck? Oh, here. Not only needs both Lighter and Lycon to just be able to compare to other DPSs, but because the game has gone into an anti-Miyabi agenda, just to nerf her up a bit, just to force you to spend money a little bit. Yeah, I see the DPSs have been suffering because of it. The most one that has been suffered, that has suffered these changes, these anti-Miyabi changes, is obviously Yugo. Because Yugo is a really kind of peculiar character to play. So yeah. So because of that, you can see why other main DPSs, other fan of other cards, actually not too pleased about she getting buffed so soon, especially when she should have been much stronger to begin with. Now the second reason, because of wait, what was it? Wait a second. The second reason why I'm not a particular fan of this Sanby buff is because I'm afraid that developers might be abusing this redesign mechanic a little bit too much. What do I mean by that? I started to feel like if developers keep pushing mediocre characters kit in the first place and redesign them a moment later, that might indulge them to some complacency. That was the word? Yeah, complacency. Which means that I may actually start caring less about the design character in the first place because they have the excuse that they can redesign them later on. Which means, yeah, it's not looking good for future agents. Now, I'm not gonna say they're gonna release trash cards. Like they're gonna start releasing trash cards because they know that I can buff them later on. But that isn't a good look. Well, considering that she was supposed to be like when she first was announced, we all thought she was gonna be a top tier terrorist, a very second best to Miyabi. Instead, yeah, she's miles beyond Miyabi, even with a favorable situations around hand. So yeah, the fumble kit, that is That is no secret at all, so yeah. I don't want the devs to get too comfortable to push for cards that are mid in the first place and then redesign them later on. Yeah, that idea doesn't sit well with me. Now, the fifth reason is it has to do with a bit of a meta situation. The meta might become a little too flexible. What do I mean by that? I mean, to be fair, the list aren't that much relevant to the first place. They're relevant for those who really will do little about the game just to get them a general idea. But for new players, already it's difficult to understand which characters are good, which characters are strong, and which characters are actually better than the list actually tells them, or are overrated on a certain end. So yeah, if you start releasing characters that are trash in the first place and then redesign them and make them better, then some people that aren't pulled for them might actually suffer in the future. For example, when actually Sanby came out, I actually didn't recommend it at all for the reasons we all know, because she was mid, and she waffled her attacks, aftershock was shit, so on and so on and so on. Now, if someone actually watched this video or another video from another YouTuber who says this thing and is a free-to-play player or a casual that doesn't really know a lot about the game, they might actually skip there like myself did. The problem is that now she's getting buffed, we are getting pushed towards an attack meta, at least in 2.2. Those players that might skip there are actually getting punished for doing the quote-unquote right thing, because there is no way that I could recommend her at the time, because it's not like I can foresee the future or the direction the game actually goes into. So yeah. So people are actually getting punished but with the right thing, which is skipping a big characters, which not only makes us look bad because it makes us look incompetent for things that we cannot predict, because we couldn't predict that somebody was gonna get this good in the future, but also free-to-play players might actually be struggling because they aren't pulled for attack artists at all, which is kind of baffling and kind of misleading, because the past the game has pushed the anomaly agenda so much that anomalies were miles ahead in comparison to attack agents. Now that the gap has suddenly shrinking and suddenly attackers are favored more, those who are willing to pull for anomalies are kind of getting screwed around. And I know some might say that it's the player's fault for not pulling any of the characters that are for pulling only cards that are anomaly ones. There might be some truth to that, but my counter response is that, guys, at the end of the day, like, aside from the fact that you pull for the cards that you want and that you like, but you also pull for the cards that are strong and that are favorite in the game. Like, the game currently, the past favorite anomaly cards, so it makes no brainer for a casual or for a free-to-play player that in order to clear easier they can gain content that actually pull for anomalies. Like, they cannot be punished for things that the game told them to do. Like, that is counterintuitive and most importantly is misleading. So yeah. So this Sammy's buff not only easy. This Sammy's buff not only how can I say, punishes those who didn't believe in her. And also wouldn't pull for her, but it also punishes people that didn't recommend her, like myself, and those willing pull for anomaly cards. So yeah, basically the whole meta shifted just because the developers whims, which I really don't like at all. Because I don't want to be suddenly told that the Sanby is gonna be top tier. Let's say she's never gonna be tier 0, but let's pretend that she's gonna be tier 0. We are gonna be screwed, all the people who pull for her. I don't like cards getting suddenly stronger, much stronger like that, and other cards getting left behind in the dust. I really don't like that because I don't feel it's a fair treatment. Say whatever you want about Genshin, but at the very least Genshin was fucking fair. Which means if your power had to be power crept, it means it had to be power crept. Like, it weren't no favorites. Even higher card, the same higher card the Genshin developers push you to the throat, but having had around multiple times, even in definitely one point in time, eventually she too got power crept. Things that are not gonna happen here because the the developer's favoritism here shows a bit more, which actually might screw a lot of people, more people around this time around. So yeah, I really don't like where the direction this game is going, because sure, you might say that it's a good thing that Sanby is buffed, but what about Hugo? What about Julian? What about Mayaro or Soji11? I'm gonna leave you with a quote that I said in my previous video. Everyone wants old characters getting buffed until they realize the ones that are getting buffed aren't their favorites. So yeah, and with that out of the way, I'll end this video. I'll end this video here. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to not miss any future Zenless, on Castarello, or any other gacha game content. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for listening, and goodbye. Ciao!